Hello, it's Linda here, and welcome to the Homely Lass Studio, and to tonight's it's Friday night. Tonight's crochet tutorial, and we're going to make the Toasty Heart Beanie, and I'm actually really looking forward to making it because it's quite chilly here at present. It's well and truly winter. and well and truly winter. And I'm actually going to make this one for myself and wear it. So there you go. So like I said, we're making the Toasty Heart Beanie, and I'm going to put on my hand cam soon so you can see what I'm doing. Probably just the only thing is, if you've got questions, pop them in the comments, and even say hello in the comments. I love hearing from you. I love knowing that someone is watching too. So please say hi. I love say hi, pop your questions in there, and I'll answer those as we go. So just checking, we're recording. It looks like we're streaming through to the Facebook group, not the Facebook group, to the Homely Lass Facebook page. And now I'm going to share my hands with you. So here we go. There we go. There's the desk in front of me. I love it when the technology works. Not too much fun when it doesn't. So hopefully you can see my hand, the table in front of me too. So. Here we go. Okay, so what we're making is the Toasty Heart Beanie. And we're making it, we're going to make the medium size, because that's the size that I wear. So there's 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. And that covers from a baby, a teeny tiny person, up to a large adult. And the reason why is it's super stretchy, and you can fold the brim up. And when you fold the brim up, it gets a lot smaller. Hold on, I'll just show you that. I've got one over here. So here is this is the small size. And you can see it's super, super stretchy. Super stretchy. And there's plenty of length. So it's either like a bit slouchy or fold that up, and that makes it smaller on the inside. So there you go. So very, very forgiving size-wise. There is a couple of there's 2 made small ones available in the Homely Lass online shop. And they are, 2. That's all we'll be making of those this year. So if you want them, grab them now. There won't be any more. And just as a side note, this weekend, everything in the Homely Lass store is 15% off and free shipping with the code FKAH for Finders Keepers at Home. We're loving being part of Finders Keepers at Home and doing all these extra bits and pieces. And that's just a little bonus for you. So here we go. Let's get started. Hi Nettie New. Hi, it's freezing here in Coorong. Well, you need a Toasty Heart Beanie too. So let's get started. So what I've got some yarn that comes in handy when crocheting, the 25mm crochet hook, the extra large pom-pom maker, a set of scissors, and maybe not the most important thing, but definitely the handiest thing are these stitch markers. So I'm going to use these to mark the start of the row. And the reason why I do that is because I find it really difficult to count the rows with the slip stitch fabric. And so this just makes it easy for me. I can easily count the rows because I've got the stitch markers. And what I've actually done, there's 22 rows and I've counted out 22 stitch markers. So I know that when the stitch markers are empty, we've done enough rows. And then we use them at the end to help us with joining. But we're going to start. Let's get started. So grab your yarn. I'm using Homely Bliss, and we're going to use a 300 gram skein for the body of the beanie, and about 100 grams for the pom-pom on top. So we start out by doing a slip stitch, and there are all different ways to make slip stitches. But one of the ways, leave yourself a tail so we've got something to weave in at the end. One of the ways to do not a slip stitch, sorry, a slip knot, is to put it over your hand like that, wrap the yarn around. So this end here is the end, and this bit wrapped around is the bit that's attached to the ball. Then flip your hand over, and with the bit that's attached to the ball, flip that up there and make a loop. And then hold on to this loop. Actually, just before we go, if you do it the other way, it won't work. So make sure the loop's pointing out towards the tip of your fingers. And then hold on to the loop and grab the other end and pull that tight, and you've got a slip knot. And just check if you've done it correctly. The end that's attached to the ball will make that bigger and smaller. So I've done that right, otherwise you run out of yarn. So now I'm going to put that on my crochet hook, and because I'm doing the medium size, which is going to fit me just nicely, I think, I need to do 11 stitches. So this is 11 chain stitches. So to do a chain stitch, yarn over and pull it through the loop. So that's 1, yarn over and through the loop. 2, yarn over and through the loop. 3, yarn over and through the loop. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, get some more yarn, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. We've got our 11 chain stitches. Now, something I probably should have said at the start is this is it's the Toasty Heart Beanie. It's easy enough to make if you've kind of made something before. So if you've made one of our chunky scarves from the Chunky Scarf Crochet Kit, this is a really good project to tackle next. I don't recommend it as an absolute beginner project because there's just a few things that kind of, are a bit tricky. So recommend starting with a chunky scarf, kind of get the hang of those kind of stitches, and then move on to this. Okay, so we've done the chain stitches. So that's great. So now we're ready to start the first row, the first of 22. Hi, Elizabeth. Glad you're joining us too. So what we're doing is slip stitch, which is actually really similar to doing a chain stitch. And I'm going to do that into this back knobbly bit on the chain stitches. So I call that the front of the chain. It's a V. There's 2 legs that make a V. And so the knobbly bit is at the back. So to do a slip stitch, put the hook in the knobbly bit, yarn over, and then pull the yarn out, and then pull that loop that you've just pulled through the other loop that's on your hook. And I'll show you that again, but I'm going to put my first stitch marker in there. Nettie knew, yes, there is an online tutorial for this, and it's available on the blog, and also as a full online class. And I can pop the link up for that later. Actually, before I forget, I'll put the link in the comments for that now. Is that it there? I'm just grabbing the link. Swap little tabs. Here we go. I've just put in the link that goes to the blog for the online tutorial for the for what we're making. And yes, there's also one for the chunky scarf as well, and it's available in our online shop. or it comes with the Chunky Scarf Crochet Kit as well. Okay, back to crocheting. That's great, you're a beginner. That's the best place to start. Hi Tina, glad you're joining us as well. Okay, so we've done one slip stitch. So next one, so hook through the knobbly bit, pull it back out, and then pull that through the other loop. So that is a slip stitch. And how that differs from a double crochet stitch, that's the UK terminology, the single crochet is the US terminology. How the slip stitch differs is once we get to this stage, to do a double crochet with yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops. Whereas here, we're going to pull this loop under this one here. So it's very similar to a chain stitch. So normally a slip stitch, and we're doing 11 of these. Normally a slip stitch is used for joining. Like if you're working something in the round, it's used to join the start of the round to the end of the round. But it actually makes a really beautiful knit-like fabric that's kind of like ribbing as well. It's really super stretchy. And it's fun to make. So I'm just doing slip stitches all the way along into the knobbly bit at the back of the foundation chain. So hook through the knobbly bit, pull the yarn through, and then pull that one loop under the other loop. Just got a few more to go. And I do recommend counting as you go along. We are actually going to count this row before I start the next. Oh, Nettie Noo, where do I see your hands close up? Ah, oh, that could be a problem. I've got it on the camera. This may be a problem. It is recording. Oh, let me just have a look here. It should be showing. Hello. Oh, hold on. It's Linda here. Can anybody else see my hands just before we go any further? Yes, it should be. You should be able to see my hands in the video. I've just kind of gone forward and I can see them in the Facebook video. Otherwise, if you guys want to jump over to Zoom, I can actually give you that link as well, I think. Hold on. Hold on. Actually, I can give you that link if you do want to pop over to Zoom. You are more than welcome. So Tina, yes, you can see my hands. That's good. If you did want to pop over to Zoom, which is where I'm doing this as well, there's the link as well. Oh, good. Glad you can see my hands. Okay, so we've just finished doing row 1 and I'm going to count the stitches. And they are these beautiful V's along the top. I know which is my first stitch because I put a stitch marker through it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Good, because we needed 11 stitches. So that's good. That's row 1 done. Okay, now I'm going to turn the crochet ring. I'm going to go back the other way. So here we go. I've got my next stitch marker ready. Nettie, no, where I mean is the chunky scarf tutorial like this one where I see your hands close up. Okay, so it is let me just grab that. There's one in the Warm Heart Scarf, which is probably the best one to start with, which is available in the Homely Lass online store at homelylass.com. Otherwise, there is, just going to grab one that's in the blog, which is the Grounded Cow. It's another one that's available. It's one of the patterns that's in the Chunky Scarf Crochet Kit. Just give you that one now. Here we go. Here's another link for you. This may be a problem. Sorry. I clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. There's a link in the comments there. Cool. Okay, so we're going to do row 2. So I've got my stitch marker out, and so this one is slightly different to the first row. We're going to do slip stitch through the back loop only. And actually I'm just going to look at my pattern because from memory, row 2. Okay, so my memory served me well. I love it when that happens. All questions are good questions, Nettie Noo. Please keep asking them. Okay, so what we're going to do from now on, the rest of the rows are all exactly the same. We're going to do 22 of them. So for the first and last stitch of the row, we're going to put the hook through both loops of the stitch below. And then when we get to the middle, we're going to put the hook only under one stitch. And by doing it only under one loop, sorry, not one stitch, one loop of the stitch, it means that the fabric's nice and stretchy. And only doing it and putting it under both loops on the ends means that the ends aren't going to stretch out too much. They're still going to hold the shape. They're still going to be stretchy, but you know, like when you've used something for a long time and the ends have just, it's got too stretched and it doesn't hold its shape, it will stop that from happening. Okay, so let's do row 2. So we're going to put the hook under both loops. So you can see here's the loop that was already on the hook, and I've got the hook under both loops. And then pull the yarn through, and then pull the yarn through the hook through the other loop and put a stitch marker on there. Okay, so for the middle stitches, we're going under the back loop only. So hook under the back loop, pull the yarn back out, and then pull the loop closest to the hook through the other loop. I'm going to do that until you've got one stitch left. So under the back loop. So just so you know, if you've never heard of the back loop before, front loop is the loop that's closest to you. Back loop is the loop that's furthest from you. So generally when we crochet, we normally put the hook under both loops, but there are stitches where you go just under the front or the back, and it gives you just such different textures and gives it a different dimension. So the secret to doing slip stitch is to keep your stitches nice and loose. Don't pull it too tight, otherwise it gets too hard to put it through the loop. So nice and loose. Okay, I know I've got one stitch left because it's the marked one where I put the stitch marker before. So it's the end, so I'm going to put the hook under both loops, pull the yarn back out. Oh, I've pulled the stitch marker out because I was holding on to it. Hold on, let me put it back in. I'll need it later. There we go. Pull that out there, and then pull that out there. And then turn. So we've done row 2, and I know we've done 2 rows because I've used 2 stitch markers. Makes it nice and easy. Okay, so now we're up to row 3, and I'm actually color coding my stitch markers so they're all the same color on one end. You don't need to do that. Okay, so same again. So first stitch, we're going to put the slip stitch. So it can be a bit tricky to know where to put the yarn for this first one. I always put the yarn to the front. You can do it to the back. It doesn't matter. My recommendation is just to be consistent because then you get a nice even edge. So under both loops, pull the yarn out and then pull the yarn through the other loop and put the stitch marker around both of those legs. And then we keep going, doing just the hook under the back loop because these are the middle stitches. There we go, nice and loose. Nice and loose. And think calm thoughts will help you crochet crochet loosely. If you're feeling a bit anxious or a bit worried about something, you'll notice your crocheting gets tighter. So nice and loose, and deep breaths will help you as well. Crochet nice and loosely. So next row, we'll count them as we go along. So slip stitch, as you can see, just under the loop, pull the yarn back out, and then pull the loop closest to the hook through the other loop. And we've got one left, and this one goes under both legs like that. Pull that back through, and then turn. Always turn at the end of the row. Some patterns say to turn at the start of the row, some at the end. It just depends on how the pattern is written, but it doesn't really matter. Just getting some more yarn out. And you can see we're starting to get this kind of knit-like fabric appearing. That's a bit very stretchy, not a bit stretchy. So I've got my stitch marker out. Here we go. Let's keep going. So we're going to do the first stitch, which goes, we know it goes under both legs like that, and pull that back out. Put that one there, and that's the first stitch, so we're going to put the stitch marker there. So that's one. Middle stitches are all going under the back leg. So that's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. And this is the last one. 11's the right number for the row, which that lines up nicely. And I know it's the last one because it's marked. It was the first one of the last row. So I'm going under both loops of the stitch below. And then we turn again, and it's growing. This is good. I'm going to get some more yarn out so we can keep going through the row. Oh, and I need another stitch marker. So there we go. We're up to row 5. And then first stitch under both legs like that. And pull that one like there. And put the stitch marker through so I know that this is the 5th one. And then middle stitches, we're just going through that back loop like that. So here's the front loop, it's under the hook. There's the back loop. And pull that out nice and loose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then the last one, 11, goes under both legs. And this is really relaxing to do. Now that it's just all the same, it's all set up. It feels really nice to do. It's really calming and relaxing. Perfect thing for a Friday evening. Okay, next row. We're up to row 6, and I've got my stitch marker out, ready to go. If you've got questions while we're doing this, feel free to pop them in the comments and I'll answer them. So first stitch goes under both legs, pull that through, do the slip stitch like that, and then put the stitch marker around that so we know how many rows we've done, and then keep going. So the middle stitches are through the back loop. So done 1, this is number 2. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the last one, 11, goes under both legs of the stitch below. We've got another row finished, and then turn. So the colour I'm using is Donkey, which is a greyish browny colour, and it's a neutral, dark neutral that goes with everything because it's kind of warm and cool all at once. And I think I'm going to enjoy wearing this. So it's 1, 2, 3. Oops, a little knot here happening. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and our last one is 11, which goes under both legs. There we go, and then turn. So let's have a look at what we're making here. Now it's really starting to see that kind of knit-like texture, but it's super duper stretchy. Look at that. And that's why there's 3 sizes that cover so many different head sizes, because it's super, super stretchy, nice and flexible. I love, actually I love having pieces in my wardrobe that are flexible and can do double duty. Lots of options. I love that. Okay, let's do the next row. Stitch marker out, ready to start. First stitch goes under both loops. And pull the yarn out, then under the other loop, and put that stitch marker around both legs of that first stitch. And then the middle stitches goes under the back loop. So this is stitch 2, stitch 3, stitch 4, stitch 5. And you'll see here, when I go, just before I put the hook under, I actually get my finger of the other hand and just kind of lift that back loop up, just to make it a little bit easier to do. Just kind of guide it through. The last stitch is under both loops, and then we turn. Oh, let's keep going. Oh, next stitch marker out, get it ready. So first stitch is under both loops of the stitch below. Hook goes under there, pull the yarn out, and pull one loop through the other loop. And put the stitch marker around both legs of that first stitch. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the last stitch, 11, goes back under both of those 2 legs. And then we turn again. I'm going to get some more yarn out. Okay, ready to go again. Get my stitch marker out. So it's ready to go. There we go. Okay, hook goes under both legs of the first stitch like that. Pull that out, then under the other loop and put the stitch marker in. So you can see with Homely Bliss that it's a bit ropish in how it appears. So it's got, it's twisted in lots of 3. And doing it in lots of 3 means that it's got a really consistent width. But it's the twist in it makes it more durable than if it didn't have so much twist. It just keeps all those woolly fibers, holds them all together. And that means it doesn't leave fluff all over you. So I can wear a chunky scarf made with Homely Bliss all day and I don't get any fluff on me at all. It will pill a little bit if you use it a lot, because it is wool. It is a natural fiber, but not much considering compared to some other yarns that don't have as much twist. It's good because you can use it again and again and again. And when you spent time making something, you want it to be able to look good for a long time and to be able to use it. There we go. So that's the first one. And that's also good because if you're learning to crochet and you kind of do it and then pull it out and do it again, it doesn't go yucky. You can reuse the yarn again and again. And I do this all the time, especially when I'm designing. Because of all the twist, it holds everything in and you can pull it out and redo it and it doesn't get snaggy and it doesn't look yucky. And it's really versatile. And it's also the fiber, the merino wool is grown in Australia and it's processed in Australia as well. So it doesn't go offshore. A lot of yarns that say they're Australian made. So for something to be Australian made, it doesn't need to be fully made in Australia. It just needs to have more than half of the processing done in Australia. So a lot of yarns that say they're Australian made aren't fully Australian made. There's more than half of the processing done here. But some of it commonly it goes to China and other places and then comes back again. So the fiber is grown in Australia. So for example, fibers grown in Australia goes to China to be cleaned and prepared and it comes back to be spun and dyed. So it says it's Australian made, but it's not fully Australian made. And it just seems wasteful to use, in my opinion, seems wasteful to use fuel and transport and everything else to take a yarn out of Australia and then bring it back again and say it's Australian made. The good thing about Homely Bliss being Australian made is with COVID-19, we're still able to get supply the whole time. There hasn't been any major shipping delays. We had a few minor ones with Australia Post at the start when things are really chunky, but we're still able to get yarn supply the whole time, and still now. We're having yarn made all the time, which is great. So we're still crocheting, just doing the same thing over and over again. It feels really calming and soothing. I'm really enjoying this. I hope you're enjoying watching it. So the ends, the hook goes under both loops of the stitch below, and in the middle it just goes under the back loop. And if you put it under both loops, you get a different kind of texture. If you put it on the front loop, you get a different texture as well. That's something for you to experiment with. And even you can experiment with that with any stitch, any crochet stitch, and it's interesting to see how it comes out. I was checking, I did put all the stitch markers in when I was talking. And like I said at the start, I've counted out the stitch markers for the number of rows, so I don't have to think about how many rows I've done. I know once I've used up all the stitch markers, I've got the right number of rows. And that's how I use stitch markers. Like, I use them to get even edges. And I use them anywhere it can take the thinking out of the crocheting, so it's more enjoyable, like marking the start of the rows here so I can don't have to think about it. I can just crochet and enjoy kind of the calming benefits of crochet and how it makes me feel good. There we go. Do another row. My little container of stitch markers is starting to get empty. It must be about over halfway by now. So I'll just do a sanity check and count and check I've got the right number of stitches. So I've done one. Oh, and I forgot to put the stitch marker on that one. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need a tiny bit more yarn to finish off the row. 11. There we go. Turn. I'm going to get a heap more yarn out. So you will see with Homely Bliss every now and again there's a little bit of grass. And so that means that it's not over processed. And it's just, it comes out really easily. And it's a beautiful link back to the sheep that grew the fiber, that grew the wool, because that's what they were eating. That's what was in their environment and has just got caught in their wool. So I love that. I love it's like a link from like the final making and using the fiber back to where the fiber originated from. Hi, Tina. Thank you for joining in. And yes, the replay will be available here for you to watch. Crocheting along. So like I said before, I recommend starting, if you're absolutely new to crochet, start with the Chunky Scarf Crochet Kit and then progress to the Toasty Heart Beanie. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and turn. Okay, there is not many stitch markers left now. This was full when I started. So we're getting through the stitch markers. Okay, here we go, another row. The stitch marker in at the start. And then we get to do the fun stuff. And make a giant pom-pom. 3, 4, I'm about to run out of yarn again. Get some more out. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And turn. Get another stitch marker out. There we go. It's the second last blue one. So we are getting close to the end of the crocheting. a bit exciting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 11. Hey, Nettie Noo. Yeah, the scarf is a good one to start with, the warm heart scarf. The warm heart cowl is very similar. It's just joined. I probably use cowls more than scarves, but that's just my personal preference. I forgot to put that stitch marker in, look at that. But yes, in terms of learning and doing the stitches, the warm heart scarf or the warm heart cowl is where I would start. The videos for the Melbourne snood are quite good. It is the same stitch over and over again. If you want to go that way, it's a bit like this. It's double crochet through the back loop. So yeah, either of those. But yeah, if I said one, I'd say do the warm heart scarf to build your confidence. Get the basics. The fun bit about crocheting is it's like there's always something to learn and get better at. Constant learning, which is fun. That's what makes life fun, isn't it? Okay, last blue stitch marker. Let's keep going here. Remember to put it in. That always helps. Get some more yarn out. That sounds like a great idea, Nettie Moo. Let us know how you go. And turn, and guess what? There is one stitch marker left. So we're on to the last row. This is exciting. I better do the right stitch. I better not go rogue and start making making the stitches up as I go. Got this far. And then once we finish this row, we join, and you'll see how it all comes together. We join the edge that we're crocheting now, and then one of the non-joined edges becomes the top of the beanie, gets it gathered up. I'll show you how to do that now. Finishing across and through that last stitch. And there we go. So what we've got is a rectangle of 22 rows, like that. And there's 4 stitch markers all the way along. So turn your crocheting over again. Get a bit of yarn out as well. And now we're going to join. So what happens, like I said before, this edge gets joined. Where's that other beanie? Here we go. Here's the one I made. So here is the join. So it goes kind of, I don't know what you call that. There's the pom-pom, the back of the beanie. And then the edges where the stitch markers are go around the face. So that's kind of the big picture of how it all goes together. So, but joining can be a little bit tricky, and we want to get a really nice even join that's not too noticeable. So like when it stretches out, you can kind of hardly see it. So to do that, we're going to use the stitch markers as well. So we're actually going to pull the stitch markers out from the side and put them along this top row and along this bottom row. So we know the foundation chain. So we know where to put the hook. Okay, so like when we're crocheting, the stitch markers on the end of this row, I'm actually going to put this hook out just to make it a bit easier. And pull the loop a bit bigger just so you don't lose it. So along the edge, they're going to be, the stitch marker is going to go under both legs of the stitch, and then the hook will go under both legs of the stitch. Then in the middle, it's going to be the bottom loop, so the one furthest away from us. So I'm just going to pull these stitch markers out from the side, and like, there's the V, there's the two legs, I'm putting it under the back loop. Pull a few stitch markers out. Okay, so under this back loop, because that's where the hook's going to go, because it just gets a bit confusing otherwise. There we go. So you can see here, the hook's going to go under both loops, both legs, at the end stitches, and then in the middle, it's going under there, that back loop. Then move your crocheting up. Don't turn it over. Move it up. So we've got, so here we had the loop over here. We'll use it again soon. And here, this is our starting end. We've got it on this side. And so here, find our V's. It's going to be the same as before. So stitch markers are going to go under both legs for the end stitches, but then in the middle, it's going to go through the top one. So the one closest to you. So the one on top. I'm going to pull these stitch markers out of the side, and then we'll put them along the foundation chain edge. There's a few of them, 11 to be precisely. Leave the last one. Okay, so ends go under both loops, like that, and then the middle is going under the top one. Like this. Like that. Okay, so now what we do, leave it like that. Here's our end, our loop that we're going to crochet with soon. And fold the foundation chain edge up and sit it up on top of the other edge. So fold it in half like that. And then get your yarn here. I actually put it to the back for this one. So hook goes back through there. Put the yarn around the back, and now we're going to slip stitch again, and we're just going to go along and put the hook under where it's marked, so we don't have to think about it. You can't get confused by all these loops that all look the same, because we've got it all marked out. So this one's under both legs. It's a bit squishy, but we made it. There we go. And then we're just slip stitching. So same as what we were doing before. So yarn over and pull that back out of all those loops. Give it a twist if you need to get it through, and under that loop. And then just as you've done the stitch, pull the stitch marker out. Put them back in my tin, so we don't need them again. And then, so now we're up to the middle stitches. So we're only going under one leg. Oh, There we go. Under the 2 marked legs and pull that out. And same again, keep your tension nice and loose. I know this bit is a bit tricky. This is probably the trickiest part of all of it. You want to keep it loose so it still stays nice and stretchy. So hook under the marked stitches again. And then slip stitch. Pull those out. And same again. Hook under the marked stitches and pull them out. And same again. Excuse me. Hook under the marked stitches and then slip stitch. And pull the stitch markers out. Have a little drink of water. And same again. Hook under the marked stitches. Whoop, do it so you can see it, that will help. And then pull it out. Pull the yarn through is what I meant. Pull the marked stitches out. And same again. Hook under the marked stitches. Then pull that through and pull it through the loop and then pull those marked stitches out. Remembering to keep your slip stitch nice and loose. You don't want it to be all gathered along the join. Pull that through. And then last stitch, we're going back under both loops, which are the stitch markers are marked. So that's good. And pull that out. And that is actually the end of the crocheting. So grab your yarn and we're going to pull out a bit. Actually, what does the pattern say? How much yarn does the pattern say to pull through? About 1/2 meter. So from here, go about 1/2 meter. Be generous, don't do it too short. And then cut it. There you go. And then get this cut end and pull the hook out and put the cut end through the loop. Like that. And we're going to pull this tight, pull on this just to tighten that stitch, and that will secure that. Okay, so we've got a few ends here. This is the one that we started with. We're just going to put that to the side. I'm going to put the stitch markers to the side as well, give myself a bit of space. What we want is this 1/2 meter long one, and it looks like I've gone very generous. I've got about 1 meter, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to thread this cut end under these loops here that are at the end of the row, and that's going to gather up the top, and that's going to become the top of the beanie. So I'm just pushing it under like that, threading it through. And just tighten that bit. I've put it under a few, pull the yarn through. And just keep doing that all the way around. So you've got this loop at the end of each row. Just keep going until you reach the start, which you can see is where this starting end is. Okay. So that's what it looks like. And we're going to pull it even tighter. So Homely Bliss is nice and strong. So you can give this a really good tug and it's not going to break on you. Nothing worse than your yarn breaking. And that's the twist giving it strength. Kind of want to get that as small as you can. The beanie, the pom-pom is going to sit on top, but you want that loop to that hole there to be as small as you can. Okay, now when I'm crocheting, I don't like to tie the yarn to join it, but this is the exception because we're actually going to tie a little neat reef knot here, and that's going to keep this nice and small and secure. Just tie a knot like that. Do it twice. Pull that nice and tight like that. Nothing fancy in the knot. And then because my end was a little bit too long, I'm actually going to cut this again. And we're going to weave. Don't cut it too short because we do want to weave in the end, but it's a bit too long. It's going to take too much to weave it in. Oops, sorry, I've just knocked the camera. Okay, so to weave in our ends, this is our join along here, and you can see it's really difficult to see. It's there, it's definitely there, but it's not bulky and it doesn't look strange. So with both of these ends, we're just going to weave it under the loops just to hold it in. And this is the inside of the beanie, so it will be hidden. You won't see it on the outside. So I'm just picking a line of stitches and I'm just weaving it through. And probably go about half the depth down. And then at the bottom, give it a jiggle. Then at where it kind of finishes, just tie a little knot there. And that's going to stop the Homely Bliss from unraveling. You can see this end here, where I've been using it. It's been separating. And this knot is just going to stop that from happening. I suppose the word is fraying, if we're being technically correct. And then give that a bit more of a jiggle so this knot just sits up nicely against that last stitch. And then do the same thing on the other side. So just pick a row. I might pick this one and just feed that end through like that. Go about the same distance down, about halfway, you can see there, and same again. Tie a little knot in the end of the yarn. Pull that tight. Cut that off neatly there. And there we go. Okay, so that's the inside of our beanie. So now let's turn it the right way around. So just turn it inside out, right side out. One of those. And there's my join. That'll sit at the back of my beanie. Let's kind of sit it flat. There you go. And that's the front of the beanie. There you go. It's all done. And so now we're going to make the pom-pom to attach onto the top. So I'm just going to put this to the side for now. And I'm going to get my yarn that I was using before. So this is just the end of the 300 gram skein. I probably will use a little bit more than this, and that's why I've got the other ball of yarn. So in this beanie bundle, there is there's 300 grams and another 100 gram skein. So I'm going to get prepared for the end of the beanie here. And you know, before when I said that Homely Bliss is twisted in lots of 3, get a bit that's about half a meter long, and separate it and pull it apart. And one of these 3 we're going to use to tie the beanie, not the beanie, to tie the pom-pom and hold it all in together. Oh, here we go. So there we go. Pull that out. It's like pulling out embroidery floss. I haven't worked out a good way of doing that yet, so it doesn't get twisted. But anyhow, you know a secret, tell me. So what I've got is there's 2 pieces here and 1 piece here. I'm going to put that to the side for later. Okay, so now grab your extra large pom-pom maker. This is exciting. And you'll see it's got 2 sides like this. They go together. And then each side has 2 arms. Well, it has, yeah, each side has 2 arms. So there's a total of 4 arms. So pull one side out. Excuse me, a little bit more water. I must be doing lots of talking. Okay, like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the yarn around that side. So this is, if you've made pom-poms with the cardboard donuts, this is similar, similar but different. Similar in that you wrap the yarn around, but you're only doing half at a time. It just makes it easier. We're going to do 6 layers. And when we're wrapping, just hold that in there to secure it. We're just going to try and lie the yarn side by side around the inside. So this is our first layer. And then, so second layer, exactly the same, and just keep the yarn side by side through the middle here. And it won't be perfect. That's the charm of handmade. But just do the best that you can, because that's good enough. So that's 2 layers. So this, we're on to the 3rd layer now. I'm going to pull out a bit more yarn. Got the ball of yarn in my lap. They say this is the 3rd layer. Okay, and now we're up to 4. So you can see the arch in the middle is getting smaller. That's 4. So another 2. Definitely getting thicker. And 1 more. Like that. Okay. And now we're going to put this together, and you can see our 6 layers has that nice and full. And then clip these arms down just to hold that nice and secure. I've lost my yarn onto the floor. We're just going to chop that off, chop it off at about there, just so it's a little bit past the edge of the pom-pom maker. And we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Okay, ready for business. I'm going to get a bit of yarn out here. And do exactly the same thing. So 6 layers, winding the yarn around, holding those 2 arms together, and lying the yarn side by side on the inside of the arch, or the inside of the pom-pom maker. Like this. The first layer is probably the trickiest, because it's just holding the arms together, kind of getting it started. So it's 1. Ooh. That's the second one. Now we're up to 3. And I've come to the end of my yarn, so I'm going to get another ball. So now I'm onto my 100-gram skein. So that was 3. Okay, I'm just going to hold that here. I'm actually I'll leave that there for now. Kind of leave the bit that's been tied out where I can, just so the pom-pom strands look nice and pretty. Oh, try and keep those out if you can. So I am going to chop them off because they're getting in the way. To the side. So this is 4. Now we're on to 5. And then 6. Almost there. And then lock that in together. Just like this. Okay. And locking that in is important because it just holds everything, all those arms and all the yarn in together while we cut and tie it. So if you've ever made pom-poms with the cardboard donuts, the 2 cardboard donuts, we're basically at the same stage. We've just arrived there differently. And so now get out the bit that we separated right at the start. We're going to use this to tie the pom-pom up and then tie on the pom-pom onto the beanie. So I like to start, we're going to cut. So I forgot to show this at the start, but between the 2 arms there's a V, and that's where the scissors are going to run. We're going to cut all the way around the outside of the pom-pom maker, and I'm actually using my dressmaker scissors for this because there's quite a bit of thickness of yarn here. You can use smaller scissors. It just takes a little bit longer. But these ones are nice and sharp because, like all good dressmaker scissors, they're only used for fabric and yarn. They're not used for anything else. Go and keep cutting. So we've done half. We'll do the other half now. And be careful not to cut yourself. That's very important. And make sure these arms stay clipped in, especially at this point, because at present these are just bits of yarn that go from one side to the other. They're not tied in. We definitely don't want it all to fall apart at this stage. I have had that happen before. It wasn't much fun. I did. I have a lot of pieces of yarn of the same length, but okay, there we go. We've made it all the way around. Okay, so the next part, so that's what it looks like. It kind of looks like fun and it feels nice already too. So get the tie that we separated before and get it to about, that's about the midway point. We're going to push that down through that groove and then go down past it into the center of the pom-pom maker and do the same thing on the other side. Like that. And then we're going to tie that. So I just do 1 knot first and pull that tight. And so this is an important stage, pulling that tight, because that is what's holding all these bits together. And if you've ever made a pom-pom and all the little bits started to fall out, it's because it wasn't tied tight enough. So I've done that way, and then we're going to flip it over, bring it around again and tighten it, and this time we'll do the knot twice to make it extra secure. Just pull that in nice and tight and then do the knot again, and then that won't come undone. And the great thing about Homely Bliss in pom-poms is that it's like chunky yarn, so it's nice and squishy. So you tie that nice and tight and it stays. These bits aren't going to come out at all. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now we get to unclip the arms. So these bits here, unclip them. It's safe to unclip them now because they're all tied together. So they've come out, and just very gently pull them open like that. So there's like a little bit of a transformer thing going on, but it will all make sense. So same thing on this side. So arms are all out. So that's what it looks like. And then get the sides and pull these white bits apart like that. There you go. And I'm just going to show you how to put this back together. So the opposite, basically. Put that together like that. In, and then put the arms back together and lock them in, and you're ready to make another pom-pom, which we don't need to do right now. So I'm going to put that to the side. That's it assembled. Okay, so what have we got? So you can see here, that's where the metal bit came through. So we've got a pom-pom, and it's not a bad shape, but it does need a little bit of TLC. And I'm going to just give this a quick trim. You can take longer to trim yours. But I can sit here and trim these all day. So we do want to go to bed at some stage, but tonight. But I'm going to show you kind of my principles for trimming pom-poms. And so I start out, I attack these long bits and I trim them back to where it's the same length of what's around it. So we do the long bits first, do the easy ones first, and I fluff it up so everything sits how it should sit. And then just do that. And it is actually, while you're doing it, this tie that we tied it with, don't trim that because we need that to tie it onto the beanie. So keep that out of the way and just keep working your way around, trimming like that. Do these easy ones first. So one that sticks up, so trim it off. And then just keep fluffing, keep massaging it as you go. Any bits that aren't sticking up, make them stick up. So here's another bit that's sticking up. Well, that's what I was going to say. It is a good idea if you've got a bowl to do this over a bowl. It just keeps all your little fluffy bits in one spot and stops it from getting as messy. You can see I'm just kind of gently pushing everything out and then rotating it to get those big sticky out bits. Now, one thing I'm starting to notice here is it's not actually circular. Like I can see there's kind of a sticky out bit here, and there's definitely a sticky out bit over here. And so to overcome that, what I do is I kind of get these where I think the sticky out bit is, and I hold them in together like that. When I put it on the side, I can see these bits are definitely sticking out. So I do that, and then I trim. Just in little bits, just to get it back and in line with what's around it. And do the same thing again. Give it a bit of a fluff up. And just keep doing that. Again and again. So this side I definitely know is quite funny. So I can see here there's quite a line. So I can just very gently. Secret to pom-pom trimming is lots of little trims. Otherwise you end up with a bad pom-pom haircut. I'm not sure, but I know it's wrong. I hold these bits together and I go, okay, there's a definite line there. One over here too. So I know to keep trimming. And you can keep doing that, but that's the basic principle. And just keep going until you're happy with it, whatever that may be. I will come back and finish trimming this later on, but that's okay. So, but let's jump ahead. I'm going to get this fluff and put it out of the way. Close the scissors up. So don't end up with fluff absolutely everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to put the pom-pom onto the beanie. So grab your beanie. Here it is. So this is going to be a little bit difficult to show you just because of my setup here, but we will be able to do this. So what we're going to do is the pom-pom has the tie with the two ends. So what we're going to do is we're going to get here, and here's the hole, and either side of the hole, just use our fingers and poke it through like that. Just either side so it's nice and even. And then feed one end of the pom-pom tied through one side, just so it's in there well and truly, and do the other end. So there's the pom-pom, other end through the other side. And then we're going to go, and once we get this through, we're going to go on the inside and pull it tight. So definitely doesn't need to be tight at this stage. Okay, so there we go. And once we come into the center of our beanie, here is the pom-pom ties that I can see. And I'm going to pull, so there they are, that's the inside. It's where they've been threaded through. You see that? And then I'm just going to very carefully pull those through, which is going to pull that. You can see the pom-poms now sitting nice and flush up against the top of my beanie. But back to the center, because we need to tie this off. And what I normally do is I normally just tie a bow here, because then if I ever want to pull the beanie off, and I will pull this one off, I can. So just like you would the start of a bow, and then make the rabbit ears or whatever you call them, and tie it off like that. So that is nice and secure. And then what I do is I get these bits, and like we did when we wove in the ends before, I just put them, just so they're not loose, just hide them, hold them so they're nice and secure. Like that. And then do the same with these other ends. I'm just going to chop mine off because they're a bit long. And I'll probably hold these two together and just weave them in. Just using my fingers, just to hide them, keep them secure. Doesn't matter how or where you do it, as long as they're not in the way. So there you go. That's kind of how that looks. And so my poor old beanie's got a bit squashed, but you can always fluff it back up like that. Give it a little massage. And there you can see I have a beanie, and there's the back. So I'm just going to turn this camera off. There, back to the full screen. So there we go. There's the beanie. There it is, and I'm going to put it on. I'll put it on and show you. I'll pull my hair clip out just so it doesn't get caught. So there we go. So this is the medium size. So you can see on my head, that is so snug and lovely, like that. But and it's kind of, it sits fairly well. If I pull that right down, you can see that it's a little bit long. So for me, I actually probably could have just adjusted the pattern. So instead of doing 11 stitches in the row, probably 10 would have been perfect for me. But if my head was a little bit smaller, and you will find kids will wear this size, but if my head was a little bit smaller, and this is what I do with the larger size, is I turn, so if I'm wearing the large, I'll turn it up so it's a brim. And it does, because it's longer along that foundation chain, it sits further down here, but it's still snug. So you can see there's plenty of kind of play in the sizes. But this, not like that, this is how I'm going to wear this beanie. So morning dog walks with Minna, this is what I will be wearing. And I love it. It feels so lovely. It's not itchy. It's nice and secure. I know it's not going to get too stretchy. And yeah, so there you go. Thank you for going through making the Toasty Heart Beanie with me. The bundle, so this bundle to make this with the yarn, the hook, the stitch markers, and the pom-pom maker is available this weekend. It's only available this weekend. It will be disappearing again It's available this weekend in the Homely Lass online store at homelylass.com. And there is 15% off and free shipping this weekend as well on everything for finders keepers at home. And the code to use for that is FKAH, i.e. the first letter of finders keepers at home. I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, feel free to pop me a message or comment on the video and I'll answer. Yeah, hope you enjoy making your beanie. Hope you've loved this video and it was helpful, and feel free to share it with your friends, and I'll talk to you later on. Bye.